Not yet, Māori, everyone. Good morning and welcome to your Pacific Morning Show with Isaw and Hana. And can we just quickly introduce our amazing guest?
Let's do it.
Before we jump into the hellos and hi yous. Hi yous?
Yep, hi yous.
Yeah, okay, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, use as a language in the Pacific dictionary.
Can we introduce a freelance translator and comedian that we're learning as we're going along, a Rotuman Language linguist and aficionado. I'm
wow.
in there too, I know, right?
Top profile of
a
this
son,
man.
A husband, a father, Mr. Natanielu Amato-Ali.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you for being here. Happy Rotuman Language Week, bro.
Yeah, happy Rotuman Language Week.
Happy Rotuman Language Week. Thank you, MPP, for initiating this. We are so excited.
Yeah, give me some money. Okay. Just thank you. Nah, for real.
Yeah.
Thank you, MPP. Thank you very much for supporting this one.
Yeah, how are you today, bro?
No, it's all good. All good. Another language week to look forward to. So all of the programs this week and everything. So busy. The community is really busy.
Oh, man. I'm sure, what is it? When it comes to a language week, someone like yourself who does work as a translator and stuff like that, it can get quite hectic for you this time of year?
It gets quite hectic in the lead up to the language week.
Yeah.
Generally, I take the week off because, there's a lot of volunteers. A lot of the community want to get involved. So I kind of let them do most of the work. I support mostly in the language space. So most of the time it's just language work for me. But yeah, very busy for everybody who's involved this year.
Oh, nice. How are you, Hana?
I'm good, thank you. It's a good Monday morning. Having a great time and ready to start the week off. How are you?
I was surprised we're not all sitting here drenched and wet, considering all this weather. But let's not talk about the PTSD us Aucklanders share.
Yes.
This very wet few month period that we've had.
Yep.
But yeah, should we just jump straight into our
Let's jump straight
talk
into
of the
it.
day?
Let's do it.
Oh, this is going to be a hard one, man. Look at how much sorry to break the fourth wall. Look at all this writing that we did for this talk of the day. My goodness. All right, so bear with me. Bear with me, Nat and Hana. Okay. So May is Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month in the US. As we all know, we're here in lovely, shiny Aotearoa. Hashtag Visible Together, where they celebrate all things AAPI, Asian American, Pacific Islands, and Native Hawaiian, for our Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific communities in the United States. So TV host Jenny Mai Jenkins, she's married to Young Jeezy, yo.
Oh, damn.
So special shout out to Jeezy. Did that come through? Right? Yay!
Let's get it.
So she is of Chinese and Vietnamese descent. She's a TV host. She caused a bit of a stir online with Pacific communities for erasing the PI part in AAPI when she and her co-host were opening the 2023 White House Forum on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, when in her excitement, that's what I'm going to see it as, she said, "Happy Asian People Month, everyone." And after her co-host Phil Kim shared the two official hashtags, Visible Together and hashtag AA. Oh my God. There's enough for me. Leave me alone.
That's your morning laugh for this morning.
English is my second language.
Sorry, so I love you.
I first learned puppy and Tongan. Okay.
Are you thinking hey or are you thinking hey?
Hey.
Hey!
Okay.
Sorry. Continue.
AANHPIHM. And then she saes, no one's going to remember that. Just do the Asian Heritage Month. thing. Yeah. And this is following a very heartfelt Instagram story post where she shared how amazing it was being surrounded by so much Asian and Native Hawaiian and Pacific excellence, you know? Yeah, and that many people have responded to that, you know, and voiced their, voiced their own opinions online, you know, that Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month tends to just erase PIs, and that only the Asian American part is visible while the NHPI part is silent. So that's enough talking for me for now. But what are your guys' thoughts after, I mean, I showed you guys both the clips and stuff like that, you know, like, even though it's not for us because we're not American, but just, you know, kind of, what are your guys' thoughts?
Anna, did you want?
I'll let you go first because, yeah.
Well, I'm not really a big fan of anything American, so I'll just put it out there now.
Love
Apart
that.
from the movies and entertainment, but in terms of, I did watch the clip that you showed me, and it was a bit cringe, just say.
Yeah.
But are we actually surprised?
No.
That something like this would come out of the States? Having said that, I think that's the problem you get when you group, when you try and group everything together. Like I said earlier, when we were chatting, you saw Americans do tend to love their labels, both the branded and the otherwise. And, you know, I'm not sure whether this is just them trying to get points on the PC graph or scale, and, you know, trying to pander to whoever, whatever interests they're trying to pander to, trying to look good. But whether or not they actually are interested in, you know, because Asia or Asians, American Asians, is a big group.
Yep.
And then to tag on Native Hawaiians, a very small minority, I'm sure, and then Pacific Islanders, who are even smaller in comparison. I wonder if it was well thought. You're just asking for the major group in that grouping to be to just dominate everything about that month.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe they should just have a Native Hawaiian Pacific Island month itself, and not group us in with the Asian American Asian ones. But that's just my opinion. It's poorly thought out, I think.
Yeah.
Poorly thought out.
I totally agree with you. I'm not a fan of many things American as well. And I don't like grouping people together. Blue Wave work a lot in the Pacific space. I don't even like the Pacific Islanders. I don't even like the term Pacific Islanders, and how we're all grouped together. Because as you work in these spaces, you're realizing we're actually very different. We have similarities, but our cultures are quite different, and they're very unique parts of us that need to be celebrated. And I feel like maybe the reason they group us together is their strength in numbers, but I'm a believer of strength in differences. So I'm hoping the Pacific Islanders can come away. I'd rather be called people of the ocean, tangata moana, and everyone has their own thing. Tuvalu, you rock it. Like, there is strength in our differences, but that's my thing. And I'm not a fan of labels. Yeah.
Then I am not a boy. Nah. What is it?
What are your thoughts?
Oh, my thoughts personally on this. Well, she's just, the way that I look at it.
It could have been an innocent slip of the tongue.
I think so.
And I think that came across in the video as well. But, you know, obviously if you were just watching the video for the very first time, and obviously as social media will do, it'll clip it just to those few seconds. And it, you know, if you just watch that 5-10 second bit, it's cringe.
Yeah.
But then obviously if you take into context her previous postings and what she said before and after that, then yes, maybe would be more understanding of, she was very excited and then slip of the tongue type thing.
Yeah. I mean, that's the way I interpreted it personally. I was like, oh, she's just excited. But I also see all the concern as well. I mean, it's a privilege that I get to live here in Aotearoa and live and breathe being Tongan, just as I'm sure you see it as a privilege being Rotuman and being Samoan. You know, certain people don't get to experience what we are able to do as people who are fluent, able to speak our mother tongues. But the way I see it, she's just excited. But I think, Asian American, it's huge. It's such a vast part of the world to be just clumped together. If Melanesian and Micronesian voices struggle in the Pacific, then we have no chance. When there's over 3 billion other people who are part of the vast continent of Asia. You know, so then my point of view is that we talked about this last night. We should just make March Pacific Month. You know, not just in America, but here in New Zealand too. And it pretty much is here in Auckland. We got Polyfest going on. We got Pacifica running. Are those very Tongan and Samoan dominated? Yes. Even though I'm sick of Tongans. I don't know about Samoa. You know, anyone who's not Tongan.
Never be sick of Samoa. 685 to the speaker. 685 on the radio.
Right or die. Tongan baby.
That's actually I did not notice that until now. It's a very nice play on words.
Do you like the design as well? I really like the design. Esau created the shirt. Buy his merch, guys. Buy his merch.
I'm not selling any right now.
Right. Well, right or die.
Right or die, kids. For whatever you believe in. Unless it's like a really messed up belief, then you should probably like reevaluate your life. But guys, that was kind of just talk of the day there.
Awesome. I love that.
I was wondering if you have like a kind of quote of the day, or if there's a Rotuman saying that you kind of carry with you to kind of get you through life.
I have one that my granddad used to always refer to. A Rotuman one. It is Mau Se'an Macha. Mau Se'an Macha. It basically refers to how. So my granddad was an agricultural officer and an avid farmer, and he is from the districts of Pepche in Rotuman, and one of the old chiefs back in the day used to always use this particular phrase. It roughly translates as lose the taro to get two back. So on the island they have this case where you would plant a taro head and then sometimes it would grow two taro instead of just the one. And so the chief would say this saying as an encouragement to people to be generous and to give their 100%, because you'd have a twofold return.
Wow.
And so my granddad always used it, and it's one that I always refer to. And that's specifically to the district that we're from. But a common one is always hia o raheta mahia lafa, which is keep stepping on the branch until it breaks. It basically means to persevere. So if to keep persevering and keep at something until you succeed, until the branch breaks, until you achieve your goal. And that's the one that I probably refer to most, is that hia o raheta mahia lafa. Press down on the branch and make sure that it breaks, or until it breaks. So see it through to the end.
Man, see, because Yeah.
You go first. I'm up to you.
Because when you said the second saying, I was like, wait, what? But if the goal is to break the branch, then keep going. See, I initially was like, why you want to break it for? But
yeah, so the goal is to break the branch.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh man, that's cool. I didn't even have anything to say except persevere. Look at me. I'm currently crippled and suffering a gout attack. But
He's
I'm
not
here.
wearing his moon boot either.
Don't tell them. My friends only said I can be out and about when I'm wearing. Nah, I'm wearing my moon boot.
Jokes, he's wearing his moon boot. Can I just say, I love the poetry in Pasifika languages. If you told that to someone like in the Western world, they would not understand. They'd be like, what's that supposed to mean? You know, quotes in English can be understood by, like, that is understood by people of the village. And I love that. It's like, it literally has to do with our earth, breaking the stick, but you only understand if you're, and Samoans are very similar too. They have quotes that literally relates to fish or like the sea, but you won't understand it unless you're from the village. But I think that's so beautiful. And I think someone should start a quote page with like proverbs and Pacific stuff.
You better get started on that right now.
Yeah. So there's an idea for someone out there who's a writer.
Ryan, can you do it? Thanks, Ryan.
And shout out to the team at paloveape.com who have already set up a quotes page for Tongan, for the Tongan language.
Okay, refer to them. We are going to link that. Someone's already done it.
They just Tongan.
No, I believe there is a Rotuman working with them, and there will be a Rotuman section shortly released.
Oh, that brings
Unknown Rotuman, of course.
That brings relief to my heart, right? Oh, that's cool, man.
That's so cool. So let's get into it. Happy Rotuman Language Week. Shout out to MPP once again. Thank you for initiating this. We know the importance of languages, and this show is really just to contribute to that. So we're making sure that this information is available for all our Pasifika peoples. So I wanted to start because we have an amazing guest who is rich with history and has been passed down a lot of knowledge and wisdom. And I wanted to start off with the origin story of how Rotuman was formed. If you could give us a bit of insight on what you know, that would be great.
Yeah. Firstly, Woex Isoa Mahana. Thank you very much, Isoa and Hannah, for inviting me to be part of the show this morning. It's a great opportunity to share, Rotuman culture and language with your viewers and with the audience. And it's a great, privilege to be here with you this morning. So the question around the origin stories of the island, we have one that most Rotumans subscribe to, or most Rotumans accept, and that's the legend around Raho. According to that legend, a chief from Samoa came to the island with his family, specifically one of his granddaughters and their wider family and retinue, and they sailed over from Savaii, and on their way out in the vast ocean, they were led by two spirits, twin girls, or twin spirits that took the form of birds, from one retelling. And at a particular point in the ocean where Rotuman is now located, they found rocks sticking out of the ocean, and they put out two baskets of earth from their homeland and planted the island. So that's how our mythology, our ancient history tells us our island was formed. So that ties us back to Samoans. And so when people ask, "Oh, are you guys from Samoa?" I say, "Well, based on our mythology, the first people to inhabit the island were Samoans. They were followed closely by another chief from Tonga called Tokaniua, and his retinue." But I think, that's to answer your question. That's how Rotuman. Sorry, excuse me, I've got something in my eye. But that's how the island was formed, according to our mythology.
Man, you Samoans and Tongans stay in one place.
See, that's why Savai'i is the best. Anyways, Samoa has a very structured matai system. What does that system look like for Rotuma?
In Rotuma, we have, it isn't as structured or strictly structured as the Tongans and the Samoans. In ancient history, or when the Palangis first arrived on the island, they noted that we used to have a kingship system on the island, where there would be a king, quotes, and that would pass between the different districts, and it would be a slotted time. So you'd have 6 months, next king, 6 months, next king. So they'd have a cycle around the island of people taking turns being the king. Appointed, chosen by the people. But now we have a chiefly system where we just have district chiefs who sit on an island council, and then they have just commoners who aren't, who don't hold chiefly titles. There is a middle rank in between, which we call something similar to the matai, where you have the ali'i and then the matai.
Right.
We have a similar one, which we call the umefnihano, or just titled chiefs, but they're more like the heads of the different clans. So there are 7 district chiefs, and then below those 7 district chiefs are various chiefs of the different families and clans, and then you have commoners, people who don't hold titles. It's a very egalitarian system, so you have to be part of the clan that owns the chiefly name, but anyone can be a chief, any male, so it's still a very patriarchal structure. And we have people who just bring up their names, and then they go around the different families within the district and then tell them, okay, it's you guys' turn this generation, next generation's the next family's turn, and they take it that way. It may not be as earned as the Samoan structure, because the Samoans, it's very much oleale pule, it's our tour. We are more like, it's halfway between. It's a very privileged rank, but at the same time, not that many people live on the island. So it's already slim pickings as it is. So you just basically pick it because you need the chief. Just go.
So it's not even dependent on genealogy or lineage, or?
It is to an extent. So only people from a certain, what we call a mosenga, a certain household can be picked as chief. But then, as the generations have gone by, the household has expanded, and so there are many people who find their genealogy back to that particular household, because the families are so big. And so it's more of a matter of people actually wanting to be the chief. We have cases where people from the other parts from the diaspora send people back to be chiefs. And that's a relatively modern innovation. But before, it used to be whoever was on the island and could be a chief was usually picked to be the chief by his family, by his koinanga. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's much of a strict, I know that with Tongan and Samoan, usually it's what the chief says goes. I think that those are past us in terms of Rotumans. Money and material wealth, and people may disagree with this viewpoint, but money and material wealth do hold a lot of sway nowadays. And so you see that in our community and on the island, where the chief says one thing, but the people who hold the purse strings obviously veto whatever the chief says. So it's unfortunately come to that at the moment, but not as widespread, but it is creeping in.
That's sad. It's creeping in like that, because we see that in modern society with lobbying and all that sort of stuff. But oh man,
And we're living in very interesting times. So things are constantly evolving, and we're kind of like in the middle of like, okay, what's going on? And it's happening faster than we can conceptualize it. So very interesting times. Very interesting times.
Oh, is it my turn? Stop looking at me with your expectation eyes. No, I'm kidding. Bro, can we just take a quick step back and just your experience as Rotuman here in Aotearoa? You know, how did you find it when you first moved here from Fiji? And, you know, kind of just what's the Rotuman experience like here in Aotearoa?
I can't speak for Rotumans who grew up here, because the experience would be very much different from mine. So we started, well, the first visit to New Zealand was back in 95, 94, and that was a holiday. And we've been holidaying here since then. But I moved permanently to New Zealand in 2008, and I've been in the country for about going on 15 years, I guess. But I was brought up by my grandparents, Akanisi and Kafoa, in the outer suburbs of Suva, in a place called Koronivia, and we were raised quite traditional. Rotuman was our first language. I did not learn English properly until I was maybe year 2 at school, class 2 as they called it back then. And so I was, very much immersed in the language my whole life. And then I came over for further studies and to live here with my family here. And when I arrived in 2008, I realized quite quickly that it was a very different place to Fiji.
Yep.
At the time, the Rotumans, the number of speakers was not that high. I arrived and I went straight into a youth group Christmas event. As soon as I got off the plane, my cousin took me and said, "Oh, we'll go to the youth party." I was like, "Okay, we'll go." And we get there, we have the expectation that, from Fiji, we have the expectation that everybody who's older than you knows the language.
Yeah.
And so you default to, I'll speak in Rotuman to all the elders.
Yeah.
And I'll judge whether I can speak Rotuman or English to, people my own age.
Yeah.
But at least my parents' generation and my grandparents' generation should speak the language. And that was not always true.
Yeah.
They would, and because at the time I had no experience of how Pacific Islanders lived outside of the islands.
Yeah.
Where we were home, the language was spoken, it was alive, and all of these issues around language not being passed on, language dying out, it was a distant thought.
Yeah.
So I think that when it came here, when I arrived here, it was that. Firstly, realizing that not all the Rotumans here spoke Rotuman, and for some it was a challenge. And then also blending in. In Fiji, if you see a light-skinned islander like myself, you automatically assume, oh, they must be Rotuman, because we're the only fair-skinned islanders in Fiji.
That's so buzzy. Yeah.
And so we come from like, oh, yeah, he must be Rotuman, the fair-skinned ones, and then you have Fijians, and then you by appearance alone, you could tell us those were Rotumans.
Yeah.
Unless you were in Suva, where there were a lot of Tongans and Samoans who came over from the islands for, USP, and otherwise, almost 99% of the time, it was Rotuman. And then come here, and then you say, "Oh, Samoa. Are you Samoan? Are you Tongan?" I'm like, "Nope."
Yeah.
Fijian. And then the first one is always, "But you don't look Fijian." Okay, I have to explain the whole geography again.
Yeah.
And then you go start saying, "Pula, pula."
Yeah, and so I found it quite interesting because to be like, to come from a place where I'm automatically recognized as Rotuman,
Yes.
to a place where I'm always assumed to be Tongan or Samoan,
Or Samoan,
was quite buzzy, and not that it was a bad thing. A lot of Rotumans use it to our advantage. If you want to just blend in and say, oh yeah, Sam, yeah.
And you probably learned enough Tongan to just pass by.
Yeah. Well, we learned enough in the first few years to pass by. So malo, malo, and that's it. And it works both ways. If there's someone say malo, malo. And sometimes you don't, like, you take it for granted that everybody's going to assume that you're Samoan or Tongan or Cook Islander.
Yeah.
That you just that your Rotuman identity is like, oh, I'll just put that at the back burner, and that became the case for a very long time.
Oh man.
And then we bring it out
Yeah.
on special occasions like this week, dust it off, and like, yeah, here's my Rotuman
Surprise.
surprise.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because man, yeah, because I actually didn't learn much about Rotuman until I actually went to uni.
Mm.
And what is it? I think it was either you or not to name drop him, but without him knowing, but Georgie.
Oh, Georgie. Hi,
know
Georgie.
I love you, Georgie. Most days.
Hey,
Where I didn't find out, I was like, Rotuma. And then I kind of did like a little like deep dive on Wikipedia. Don't judge me. And I was like, oh, it's its own thing.
Yeah.
Like got its own language, got its own culture, got its own cuisine.
Mm.
And it's got its own like governance and ruling and all that sort of stuff. And I was like, oh, they're just, I guess it's probably not to the extent of how Tongans just ran rampant over Niua. Let's not talk about that.
I learned Rotuman. I had a Rotuman friend. Her name was Kijiana. And I learned a lot of the history and how things operate through her. I haven't really done a lot of research on it, but that's why I'm so glad that you're here and I'm just learning so much. I feel like there needs to be more resources in that area. Do you feel that way?
Yeah.
Or it's out there, but people are not accessing them?
No, we do definitely need more resources around around the culture and the language. My work is mainly around language, translating and teaching the language. So obviously my bias is towards educational resources, but I accept and recognize that can't always be the case. So I'm, kudos to everyone who's working in the space to create digital content. We've got more music online. We've got more people. We've got people involved in the arts and posting those online as well. So yes, Rotuman has come a long way in terms of being recognized. 15, 14 years ago when I first arrived, every single person that asked, where are you from? I'm from Fiji. You don't look Fijian. I'm from a place called Rotuman. And then the whole geography and history lesson goes. And now if you say Rotuman,
yeah,
it's more readily recognized. Oh yeah, you're that endangered language people. It's like, but it's better than nothing.
Exactly.
It's better than saying Rotu. Is that somewhere in Rotorua? Like I've got that a lot.
Yeah,
I've got that a lot. It's like, oh yeah, that's the lake near Rotorua. No, that's Rotuman.
Sounds the same.
Yeah, I think there is a lake called something, but it sounds. I think it's Tuna or something like that. But anywho, yeah, and so I've got that a lot. And it's like, oh, I'm from Rotuman, and then all of our Maori mates were like, oh yeah, I've been there. It's a nice lake by Rotorua. I'm like, huh?
Are you sure?
Okay. Sometimes
you just like, just to stop the conversation because you're so sick of it.
Yeah, and I'm ashamed to say, but yes, I've stopped it a lot. It's like, oh, Samoa.
You know what? Today I'll be Samoan.
Yeah, today I'll be Samoan. Where from? Hawaii. I can pull it off when Tongans ask me, because when they ask me, it's like, oh, are you Tongan? Say, yeah.
Yeah.
Maufanga and Kolofo'o. And I'm not lying in that case because I have paternal links to Maufanga and Kolofo'o. So so I won't lie when I sell Mam Tongan, but see that was the thing. It's like,
just to help you out with the Samoan one, just say you're from Safotu and Vaisala. If you ever have to, those are the two villages you can claim from Savai'i. So shout out to Safotu and Vaisala.
I'm pretty sure we do have, I've got to ask the elders about it, but apparently we do have Samoan blood somewhere, and they've had a reunion and stuff like that, but I just don't know where or who. Yeah.
I mean, what is it? Sorry to bring up some boring data. But according to the 2018 New Zealand census, there are 981 people who identified as Rotuman. As a person who works in the education, using Rotuman language as an educational tool, and as a linguist, do you feel like it's a pressure or responsibility that's been placed on your shoulders as a Rotuman?
Definitely. It is a responsibility that was placed quite early on, actually. Going back to when I first arrived, I was put into the church groups and the community groups at the time, and in many cases I was voluntold to be part of.
Wait. What do you mean voluntold? Could you elaborate on the voluntold for us, please?
It is a term that I heard a few years back, and it's you volunteer, and you get voluntold. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of islanders will relate to being the voluntold. Your parents say go, and you just say where. And then that was the case with me. It's like, the language, go. You speak the language, go and help. And help. But it was odd because, whereas in Fiji the expectation would be to help with the chores, the Fäags, the work in the background, because of, I'll call it the skill set that I had at the time, which was knowing the language and knowing both English and Rotuman. It was always to, explain this to the youth so that they understand. Explain why. Explain why we wear the ear this way, the hofali this way. Explain how we walk. Explain how we stand. Explain. Because obviously the elders would be fed up of, can you guys just not do this? So can you guys just stand this way, put your arms this way, and as you do, when you go to cultural, dance practice and stuff like that. And so to have it explained to them and then to have it translated. And so I spent a lot of years as the secretary for the community. And, I saw it as pointless at the time, but I saw it, and now I realize it was more of a training ground to have all the minutes out in English and Rotuman for whoever could read Rotuman. I didn't see the point back then, but it was just a build up for what I do now. But getting volunteered to do things in the community it became a responsibility quite early on. And now I realize the importance of that responsibility. At the time, it was more of a hassle than anything else. But now that, I've got my own family and I've got a son and a daughter, and, I've got aspirations for them to be where I am, to be,
that's
to
beautiful.
Be the not the cultural experts, but at least knowledgeable enough in the culture that people can come to them when their generation takes over.
I like to see them as people holding the light in the darkness to lead to that language and that culture. I thought I just said that.
I am voluntold to do a lot of things by my parents too. It makes me very uncomfortable, as we all are. So I can relate to that 100% or all of you. Yeah.
I think everyone can relate. I
Yeah.
think that volunteer is not the word in the vocabulary. I think it's voluntold first.
So we've got 2 new words to add to the dictionary. Use, that Esau mentioned earlier, and voluntold.
What?
The Pacific, remember you said use?
Use.
Yeah.
What?
In the beginning of the show.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
See, I'm old. I'm going crazy.
Yeah. So 2 new words to our Pacific dictionary.
Oh gosh. Get ready. Some of these annoying questions are gonna be coming your way. What is it? What are the main differences? For people who don't really know the differences between Fiji and Rotuman.
Well, apart from appearance, because Fiji is part of Melanesia, and so our Fijian brothers and sisters tend to be more dark-skinned than us.
Yeah.
Rotumans are different culturally. We have our own culture, and so we have a more Polynesian format of things. The Fijians as well are very much Polynesian in terms of their hierarchy and in terms of their society. So yeah, their language is very different as well. So our language has, I've forgotten how many, but the Rotuman language, when compared to other Pacific languages and Fijian as well, you have, how do I explain it? We can end our words with consonants.
That's crazy already.
Yeah. So in Tongan and Samoan and basically every other Pacific language, you have to end it with a vowel.
Yeah.
So it has to be waka.
Yeah.
Motoka. But in Rotuman, you can end with the consonant. So waka becomes vak. Sala becomes sal. And we even end with glottals. So la-o becomes la. Longi or langi becomes lang.
Wow.
So yeah,
That's crazy.
we're very different in that regard. The only other languages that do this, I think, are Marshallese, which is part of the Micronesian group. Well, under the colonizer imposed Micronesian label. Yeah. But yeah, Marshallese, their language behaves the same way. So they have very shortened words. There isn't much else that's different because we all seem to have the same, core values of, family, hard work, lotu or rotu religion in Rotuman, and that we share with people in Fiji. Yeah. But like I said earlier, in Fiji we're more recognizable because if you see a fair-skinned islander, they 99% of the time they'll be Rotumans. Yeah. But obviously when you come here and they're Tongan majority, Samoan majority, and then their questions like, what makes you different from apart from the appearance and our language, basically everything else is the same. I mean, we eat basically the same foods. We have our own delicacies, which is different, which we call Fäeag.
I love that stuff.
Yeah, I have not tasted. What is Fäeag?
Fäeag is
a sweet treat.
We have a variety of about 11 or so different Fäeags. I could be wrong. I think it might even be as high as 13. But it is basically like Tongan Whaikakai. Samoan, I think it's called Taufola. I could be wrong. It's basically grated taro, baked, and drowned in coconut cream and sugar.
That coconut cream caramel.
I'm hungry now.
Straight amazing.
I tell everyone this. There's 2 ingredients I can live on for the rest of my life. It's fish and coconut cream. Coconut cream to anything, I become immediately obsessed with. So this is something I need to try. I need to try this. I need to try this.
Yeah, and I think there is an event this Saturday, the Rotuman Day celebrations Katoanga in, I'm not sure where it is, but it's on the MPP page.
We're going to bring that up.
So it's a pre-Mother's Day.
Rotuman, basically.
Oh, wow. That we can
But
get
yeah.
some Fäeag there?
It wouldn't be a Rotuman event if it didn't have Fäeag.
Exactly. I'm going. Is it in Auckland? It's in
I
Auckland?
think, yes, it is in Auckland. So the MPP has all the events up on their page for the week. So yeah, shout out to MPP and all the hard work that you do.
Third shout out of the day. Let's go.
Well, there's so many shout outs to MPP. Oh, I mean, it is true though. I mean, and speaking of MPP, you know, Rotuman Language Week is one of the 9 Pacific languages that acknowledged and celebrated by MPP. You know, could you speak to the process of being recognized formally by the ministry?
I can't really speak to, you know, all that went on and all the processes that went on to get that there. But I do know that there was a lot of lobbying and it was a work by the community as a whole. You know, really pushing for our profile as a people and, you know, as a language speaking community to be raised to the point where, you know, people MPP and the stakeholders took notice, because at the time we had, you know, obviously the major groups like Samoan Language Week, Tongan Language Week, and you know, Niuean Language Week, because Niue is a realm country, and so we did kind of come in as the underdogs in that particular, and a lot of people do wonder, like, why is a 1,000 person community, you know, getting this much recognition? But you know, as is the case with most underdogs, it's as we only get as much as we back, you know, and that is a testament to all the work that's been done by the community, by the stakeholders in the community. And you know, I'm not going to name specific people because it was an effort by people doing everything in their own different spaces to raise our profile. And that was the important thing, is that we had people in the music area, in the music space, in the language space, in the cultural space, all putting our name out there. And everywhere you, like, we, to an extent, you probably couldn't escape anything Rotuman in the month of May for a couple of years, because we were, you know, drowning the socials with all of the content, and I think that played a large role in getting us that recognition. There are obviously stakeholders, and I will name one, Fäeag Solomone, who worked tirelessly behind the. She's a colleague of mine in the translation space, but she's also, you know, in the media space, and she really did push a lot of that as well. The community elders also, you know, coming behind it and pushing for our events to be made, you know, public, open to the public, inviting government dignitaries and all those to basically raise our profile. And so it was basically a matter of profile. If you're not seen, you're not heard. Which is the basic truth of these type of matters. And so we were lucky enough that the community made a lot of noise, for better or for worse, that got us the recognition that we wanted. And there's also the case behind it being endangered, the language being on the brink of endangered by UNESCO, and so that just added to the cause. To support the language here in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and to, you know, give us the space that we need.
And I think it's so cool that that Rotuman Language Week kicks off the Pacific Language Weeks here in Aotearoa. You know, because usually when it gets to August, September, October, I think they all wrap up by October, right? But September, it's just like Tonga Language Week, and then the next week, like Tokelau and Fiji, and like, you know, there's just like 3 language weeks in a whole month, and you know, Rotuman's just panty flying like, mate, let's go.
Exactly. We're starting this. Like I said, that light that they're holding, Rotumans are leading it. And I just love what you said, like collaboration and not acknowledging just one person. There was an entire team behind that, knowing the importance of language and how it will add value to our, I don't like that word, to Rotumans abroad who need that connection back to their homeland. So well done on everyone who worked on this. You guys are awesome. Samoans and Tongans, I need your support to come and support Rotuman Language Week the same way you guys do at those parades.
What was the dirty word that you're gonna say there? What made you say
Diaspora.
Oh wow. Oh, that's right. Sorry. Hold on. Wait, I'm running on Tongan time.
Yeah.
Just a lonely one.
I'm not using diaspora anymore. It's too academic. I'm not saying our people are not academic. I just love connecting with language, and I would prefer Rotumans abroad, Tongans abroad, Samoans abroad over diaspora or expat. Expat's way too colonial, guys. Just letting guys know.
That is true. Yeah, and let's just jump into, you know, Rotuman Language Week 2023, and I feel like I should say it in Rotuman, the theme.
Do it.
But at the same time, I don't want to offend anyone. So I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Nav. I'm gonna
no offense.
Hey, no, actually, it's good.
stop this.
It's good.
It's all in the effort.
My friends are gaslighting me.
The Tongans and the Samoans will look at you and be like, see, we need more effort, like you saw.
You can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. Let's go.
Do it. Okay. So the theme for Rotuman Language Week this year is Vetakia os Fäeag ma ang hak. Oh, ang fuck hanua. Fuck hanua. All right. Merry Christmas. That's it. I will see myself out now. Sorry if I had mispronounced it.
No, it was quite a good effort. Yeah.
With my Tongan mannerisms.
That was beautiful.
Which translates to sustaining our language and culture. So in a sea of Tongans and Samoans and Cook Islanders and Niueans and Fijians and every which part else, how have you been able to maintain and sustain your language, your Rotuman language and culture here in Aotearoa?
So to describe the journey that we all take when we leave the islands to go abroad, to live. In terms of our culture, I used to always I heard this description once, and I think it was an apt description, is that we each leave the islands with yipu, or a coconut shell of our culture, however full that may be. And then we take it abroad with us, and we then pour part, if not all, of what we have into our children and our ainga and our friends and other Rotumans and other islanders. We share a portion with them, and then they take that forward until it just gets passed on. To an extent, however much you know when you leave the island is, for most people, that's all that you know when you leave the island.
Yeah.
When you leave Fiji to come to New Zealand, and that, for many people, that's the case. So whatever they knew when they came over is that's all. When I came over, I actually learned quite a lot more here in New Zealand about my culture and my history and heritage, because there was a need.
Yeah.
I didn't feel the same need to learn how to write my language properly in Fiji.
Yeah.
Because it was only ever used on Sunday, Saturday for special events, and I could communicate fine with my elders. But when I came here, then I needed to be able to write it Because I was the secretary, you have to write it both in English and Rotuman.
Yep.
And, I'd write it in Rotuman that I thought I knew, and then all the elders would be like, no, you're misspelling it. So it put that drive in me to actually go and look it up and ask the elders, okay, so how do we write this damn language? So we have 30 different ways of writing our vowels.
Wow.
Traditionally speaking, according to a traditional way of teaching the language. And this is another one. So we're going to go on a tangent here, but we have our consonants, and then we have our vowels. So we have 10 different vowels. We have the 5, a, e, I, o, u, and then we have variations of the 5 a, I, o, u. So you have you have a, you have 3 other a's, a, and a, and then you have a different o, which is a e, and then you have a different u, which is a u. So we have a normal, a dot underneath, a 1 dot on top, a 2 dots on top. Then you have o normal, o 2 dots on top, and then you have u normal, and then you have u 2 dots on top. And it was to represent all of the different sounds that our language makes. Anyway, I didn't learn how to properly write the A's until I came here, because I needed to. And so, if there's a need, then there's a way to learn. So, I've actually kind of forgotten the question. That
how have you been able to sustain
it? Yeah. So, sustaining it and maintaining it and adding to it was basically me asking people to help with my learning. And I'm not sure whether this is true across all island groups, but it can be a hard thing to do, to constantly ask your elders, can you please teach me this? You're supposed to know it.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Highly relate to that.
You're supposed to know it. No, I'm not supposed to know it. But you came from Fiji. Yes, I know that. You were raised by your grandparents. Yes, I know that. Yeah. Akama, shame. Yeah, I should be ashamed of myself. I don't know this. But can you please just tell me in case I forgot? And so yes, that was part of the journey here. Was that my actual language journey didn't really, kick into full swing until I came here.
Yeah.
And then I found this relatable. Was like a lot of the kids here would ask, why do we do it this way? Why do we tie the belt on one side and not the other? Why do we wear our ears on that side and not on this side? You know? For somebody who came from Fiji, that's just how we wear it.
Yeah. But
like here, I found that a lot of young people here, possibly because of how they're raised and how the more query-driven society that we live in, I think. The whole learning process is about questioning what, why, and they asked it, why? Yeah. Why? It's like, just hold on, let me ask the elders. Why? I don't know.
Shame on you.
You should know this already. Like,
that's so funny because Samoans are very similar. We're always taught how to do something, and the why, we should already know the why. Yeah. Yeah,
and this is the point that always gets me into trouble with the elders. And always used to, is because when it came to teaching the language, there's a very traditional approach to teaching the language, which is a very rote learned approach. You learn all the 30 ways to say the vowels, and then you learn all the 16 or so consonants, and then I'm like, well, who's gonna sit through 30 vowels and then add the consonants to that? You lose the audience halfway through the first line.
Yeah.
So my mantra and my go-to was always, you need to teach the language like you're teaching Palangi children. if you can figure out how to teach a Palangi kid how to speak Rotuman,
Yeah.
you will teach any kid how to speak Rotuman. And the intention behind it was good, but I think it got mistranslated somewhere in the understanding, and they're like, my kid's not Palangi.
Yeah.
Why should I teach them like Palangi?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it was an affront, and young, stupid, not mature enough to figure out my words properly at the time. I'd look back at it and say, oh yeah, maybe I should have PC'd it a bit more, made it a bit more elder friendly before I blurted out my thoughts. And so it's like that was the approach, is that if you can create a way of teaching it and a way of maintaining it that is relevant to this generation, and that is relevant to this generation's way of learning.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this can be applied to Tongans and Samoans as well. And it's like, if you can teach a Palangi kid how to speak your language, then you can teach any kid.
Yeah.
Because and then when they say, oh no, my kid's not Palangi, my kid's not white, and it's like, okay, well, they're born, they speak English. They go to school, they learn English. Everything's taught in English.
Yeah.
They learn other languages, French, Russian,
Exactly.
Chinese, in English.
Yeah.
And so they're so used to everything in English.
Yeah.
So you need to teach Rotuman as a second language. Rotuman as a foreign language.
Yeah.
As offensive as that may sound.
Yeah.
That is what I can't speak to the Tongans and Samoans, because Tongan and Samoan are still first languages for a lot of Tongan children and Samoan children. But the reality of it is, in our minority groups, our own mother tongue is no longer the mother tongue. It is a foreign language. Yeah. And so we just need to accept that and move on to, being able to teach the language to kids who are brought up in a very English-speaking society. So hopefully your views don't go down after that particular rant. But
I mean, but that's essentially what you have to do when you're bridging the gap. Yeah. The intergenerational gap.
Exactly.
Oh, buzzword.
Oh.
Ding. Intergenerational. Oh, intergenerational.
Damn, son. Where'd you find this?
That's another one for the dictionary, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And your job is not easy. It's such a hard thing. Like I said, we're pioneering in this space. And the fact that you've said that you're using methods that have already worked, right? So I don't see anything wrong in that, but I can see where the offense comes from. Yeah. I can see where the offense, because as we try to revive our languages and cultures, we want to take pride in how we do things, and doing it another way, not our cultural way and our traditional ways, which we are just discovering, can be offensive. But I know where you're coming from. Yeah.
And, with the benefit of hindsight, I can look back and say, well, I should have probably said things differently back then, and done things differently. But back to the matter is, the intention is there that we need to make Rotuman into or deliver it in a mode and in a way that's relevant to the generation that we're trying to teach. Yeah. And accept that all of these challenges of growing up Rotuman or Tongan Samoan in Aotearoa is not growing up, even though we are, this is the largest Pacific city in the world. We have the most Pacific Islanders, but it does not mean that we have the most Pacific, like the concentration of Pacific culture here. Yeah. Yeah. A lot of the Pacific Islanders here are brought up, either born here and raised here as Kiwis, or in a very foreign setting. So delivering it in means like music. Yes. And there's been a lot of work done with the music scene. I think there's a group of musicians who do the nursery rhymes and things in Rotuman and Tongan as well, and the other Pacific languages and stuff like that. So it's content. Yeah. Not that we want to become content farms, but we can't be picky with our content. Yeah. Exactly. We have no content. Yeah.
And just sharing my experience, I took French. I was Fäeag. So I took French classes in high school, and they taught us why French language is important. They taught us the history of French language. Then we started speaking the language and applying it. After we started learning little phrases, we started going to the food, the cuisine, and then we started exploring like different parts of France and learning the geography. So how you brought up earlier, our kids, Rotuman youth are always asking why we do this. So I see the framework you're working in. Explain the whys. And you're the person in the middle grabbing the youth and the elders like pulling this work together. So I just want to say you're awesome.
Malo,
you're
thank you.
awesome. Malo lover.
Yeah, but like, what is it? Isn't it just an amazing honor to have such inquisitive young people?
Yes.
You know, curious. You know, you could easily like brush up a fence and be like, why? Because this is why.
Or just listen.
Yeah.
Just listen.
Or you could, you know, or you could just think back like, oh, you know, we'll just use.
Yeah, the classic why? Because why?
Yeah. because this is the way. Mandalorian reference for you.
Well, May the 4th was yesterday, but yeah, belated May the 4th to everybody. Live long and prosper.
Oh my God.
Are we changing the? No, just kidding.
That's the wrong one. Oh, God.
I've been waiting to throw that one out there.
This is the way. This is the way. Wait, I've just got one more
Yes.
thing for you before we wrap up, because Ryan here is giving me the eye. What is? Can you? There's another one for you, just to just kind of roll your eyes at. Can you tell us why Rotumans are called or sometimes refer to themselves as Bisiketes?
I don't think we'd refer to ourselves as biscuit. It's an externally imposed label.
God.
Actually, so to premise all of this is we, like other islanders, we like making fun of people.
Yeah.
Love it.
We love it.
Favorite thing to do.
Yes. I think for Rotumans, it might be a cornerstone of the culture type thing. So we have this practice on the island called Te Samunga, which is teasing names.
Yeah.
So every single clan, every single family has their own teasing name.
Yeah.
And it's basically based on something unique, something stupid, something whatever that your ancestor did. So you'll have people, you know, like who are called corned beef. You know, people who are called pineapples and whatever.
Yeah.
You name it, there's a name that's associated. There's a popular one that's the aeroplanes. So there's a whole clan who are called, and to an extent, they are loud and proud.
Yeah.
You know, because it represents their connection to whoever, to their ancestor and to each other. So that was that's the cultural background. So it isn't an uncommon thing to have teasing names.
Yeah.
The thing with the biscuit story is that it got out. That particular story got out. So the story goes that when the Palangis brought the shop and stuff to foreign goods to the island, they brought biscuits, cabin crackers, and obviously they brought it. The Rotumans took it and ate it and found that it was quite nice. So he asked the Palangi, he asked the shopkeeper, whether it was Palangi, I don't know, but he asked the shopkeeper, "What is this?" And he said, "Oh, it's biscuits." It's like, "What's that?" "Well, you know, the biscuit is from a plant. It's from wheat that you plant." He said, "Oh, so this is from a plant."
Yeah.
Not knowing that, you know, wheat, flour, add water, bake, you know, all of that process in between. He was just told that it's from a plant.
Yeah.
Plant product. Anywho. The Rotuman takes a tin of the biscuits home, and being an avid farmer, as we all are, tills the earth and plants biscuits
Yeah.
as seed.
Yeah.
What you would do with anything else that came from a
Exactly.
plant, obviously.
Yeah.
So the logic is there.
Yeah.
The logic is sound.
Yeah.
This is a plant product. It came from a plant. It must behave like other plants. Therefore, if I seed this into the ground, it will grow.
Grow. Yeah.
So months pass. He tends the garden, weeds it, blah, blah, blah. And then perchance a Fijian or somebody else from Fiji walks past and asks, "Oh, you're gardening?" He's like, yeah. "What are you gardening?"
Yeah.
"Bisikete." "What?" "I planted my farm of biscuits."
Biscuits. Yeah.
And so the story got out and went back to Fiji. It's like, "Oh, you're tote bisikete," meaning they plant biscuits.
Oh man.
And that's how it got out. That
Yeah.
whenever Fijians refer to us, and this is kind of like it used to be until now. It used to be only between like people in Fiji.
Yeah.
Would know, "Oh, Bisikete, Rotumans." But that's the story. So I think one of my old high school teachers, who was also Rotuman, who was also from this particular district, he said, had the idea worked, Rotumans would be millionaires.
Yeah.
But because it was obviously misinformed, but that's the story behind it. And I think then they're of the same, I'm of that clan, or I could be corrected, and we're neighboring clans, because our teasing name is our shovels are made from biscuit tins. So because we lived next door, we took they planted the biscuit, we took the tin and made our shovels out of it. So yeah, that is the story. That, as I have been told, it may be incorrect, and I stand to be corrected by actual members of that clan. But yeah, that's the story. And I think that's the most PC and palatable version of the story.
You delivered it so good.
Yeah, I think it made it sound like a very nice story, and not as stupid as people might want us to think.
But to be honest, had it worked, I think the company wouldn't be called, FMF, Flour Mills of Fiji, it'd be Flour Mills of Rotuman.
Exactly. And then, Tongan otai might be made from those crackers if it had worked.
Stop it. You're making me wish
RBC,
it was
Rotuman
someone.
Biscuit Company. But
Yeah, see?
Oh! You know what? I think I might make that a t-shirt.
That's so beautiful. I'm just dissecting this all in. Like, genuinely, I love that the, different villages are attached to different teas or mocks. I should just put it out there first. Learn to laugh at yourself before you laugh at others. But I love that culture that we have in Samoa and Tongan, Rotuman, that we mock each other.
That island banter is so good for like the soul, but so bad for the mental health.
You laugh it off and then you go home and cry it off.
You go home and be like, I am a horse.
You are a strong horse.
I do have taru legs.
hey, but I mean, it has to be put into context. Now it's mental health issues, and that's totally understandable.
Yeah.
But these teasing names and everything are set in a time frame where sticks and stones.
Yeah.
It's from that era. Sticks and stones, words don't break.
Yeah.
But we obviously progressed until now. But yeah. So all of these teasing names, they're worn as either a badge to identify themselves, and a lot of people, loud and proud, as soon as they say, "Oh yeah," everybody's like, "Yeah, I'm part of that." Others, not so much.
See, but they're proud of it.
Yeah, some of them are proud. Others are like, "Don't you ever bring up that name again? Who the hell?" Yeah, I'm pretty sure all of my shovel clan will be like,
On the more traumatized side of things.
Look, we're still like processing, like
in this intergenerational.
We know it's been 150 years, but
all this intergenerational trauma that you just had to bring it back up, right?
buzz, so many buzzwords right now.
oh my gosh, this is just too much. Have you not? Look at all of the tabs I have open on here.
Okay, it's all right. It's all right.
Look at all the tabs I have open here. Now I'm going to show you right now. Look at these tabs. Okay? I live a life of chaos.
Organized chaos. So
Yeah.
That's why I'm in therapy.
I will say one thing. I'm only going to speak for the Samoans. I need you guys to come out and support Rotuman Language Week. I'm not going to speak on the whole Pacific because, like I said earlier, our differences is our strength. Samoans, I know you guys are out there. Please, please, please support Rotuman Language Week. Share the content, share the music, everything. Yeah. Let's support each other.
And learn more about one another.
Can you make an announcement on behalf of the Tongans, please?
No. I don't like Tongans. I've made that adamantly clear.
We need an announcement for the Tongans.
Nah, for real though. But everyone, you know, just get out there and support. You know, how best can we support
exactly.
Tautoko, you know, Rotuman Language Week?
I think that you know, we've received so much support from all the stakeholders and from everywhere with the Language Week, and the Language Week being there, you know, having a Language Week is a huge boost. But I think that, you know, getting to know who your Rotuman workmates and colleagues are, and, you know, learning the phrase of the day or the phrase of the week. Obviously, the Rotumans call on you to call out to all the Rotumans to, you know, host the lunch or bring a dessert or fäeag to work, invite people over for dinner. You know, it's all about raising the profile of our people and raising the profile of our language, so that, you know, not only are we fighting this endangered label that we've been put under, but also actually meaningfully growing the language community. And, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to always be the language. My focus is always the language, but you know, learning more about your culture, about your identity, about where you're from, are themes that not only the Rotumans are useful to the Rotumans, but can be carried across all the cultures. You know, knowing who you are, where you're from, why you're here, you know, and all the things that make us unique, but at the same time similar.
Ah, that's so cool. No, thank you so much, Nat, for, you know, sharing.
No, thank you
all
very
of
much
this,
for
all of this
having
insight
me.
with us. Yeah.
This is the best day I've had. This is my favorite episode I've had this year.
Thank you.
My favorite episode.
All of our guests are gonna come and fight us,
and
now.
I'm proud to say this. I'm not. Honestly, I've learned so much. Thank you for passing on your wisdom. Through the knowledge you have shared, I am also picking up on the attributes and qualities of Pasifika, of Rotuman people. And I love that collectivism, that culture we share. It brings a different perspective from what we're constantly being taught by the West, which is individualism, you know, independent attitudes. But the fact that we've had this conversation, Esau brought this amazing guest on, so I'm mind blown. He's probably like, oh, look at her being excited again. Annoying. But I'm honestly so blessed. And I have this favorite episode of the year.
Thank you very much, Esau and Hannah, for having me.
Sorry, I didn't play the sound effect that I wanted to play. No, but thank you, Nat. Thank you for coming, and and willing to pour some from your ipu so that we could all, you know, learn and be nourished from your incredible journey that you've had.
Thank you. Thank you very much for giving Rotuman and Rotumans the platform to, you know, to preserve our culture, because, you know, once it's on a podcast, it stays there for a while, and, you know, also promoting our people and raising awareness around our heritage and culture. But thank you very much for this opportunity.
Yeah, thanks, Nat. Thanks, Hannah. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And how do you say good morning in Rotuman?
Good morning is Micharan Leleid, which is a direct translation. Micharan Leleid, but you can just say Noaya Imori.
Okay.
Micharan Lele.
Yeah, Micharan Leleid.
Ready?
No, you say it. You say it better.
And thank you for coming to our say.
Micharan Lele.
Thank you for coming to our Pacific Morning Show. Micharan Lele. Was that okay? Yes, we got it. Happy Rotuman Language Week. Shout out to MPP, Ministry for Pacific Peoples. We love you all. Good morning.
Go home now.